2 in favor, 2 against, Jake summarized. Rachel? Rachel would vote against. Then, even if Jake was for it, we'd have a tie. Jake would never go ahead if we had a tie vote. I was starting to feel relieved and guilty all at once. I didn't enjoy thinking about David's fate. "Let's do it," Rachel said. "What?" I yelped. "You heard me," Rachel said. "Axe makes a good point. One extra member just adds risk. But Cassie's right, too. We have to start somewhere now that we have the box. What are we going to do? Run an ad in the newspaper? Help wanted, danger, nightmares, big-time creepiness, no pay. Have you ever wanted to turn into a bug and fight brain-stealing aliens? Well, call 1-900-Animorph. Cassie laughed. "Sad thing is, Rachel, you would actually respond to an ad like that." Rachel laughed. "Exactly. So you see the kind of people we'd get." It was up to Jake now. David moaned and moved his head. His eyes fluttered open. "Who are you?" he asked, blinking up at Jake, then looking around at the rest of us. Jake sighed. "We're the people who are going to totally change your world, David."
Forgive us now for what we've done. Started out as a bit of fun. Here, take these before we run away. The keys to the gulag. Children, lift up your voice. Lift up your voice. Children,
Oh, shut up. I knew about Nick Cave long before Harry Potter ruined him. The David Trilogy, consisting of number 20, The Discovery, number 21, The Threat, and number 22, The Solution. It's a very unique entity in Animorphs. It was the first multi-book story arc, which would only happen again at the very end of the series. As this is really one story spread between 3 books, I've decided to shake up my regular format. There won't be a post-book follow-up until I've finished all 3 books, and then I'll release a post-David Trilogy follow-up. I'll be giving each book an individual score, but to assess where the David Trilogy succeeds and fails will require us to look at these books as a singular entity. Another thing the David Trilogy brings forward is a villain of intimacy. While Visor 3 and Visor 1 were deadly adversaries, they largely presented an external, physical threat. David was a very different matter. He knew the Animorphs on a very personal level, and was capable of attacking and manipulating them that way, as opposed to brute force. And to top it off, he was one of them. A horrifying circus mirror version of an Animorph. Compare this to the last book, number 19, The Departure. In that book, we came to know a Yeerk who was genuinely good. In this book, we come to know an Animorph who is genuinely evil. The book doesn't take its time getting to the plot. While walking the school halls, Marco spots the new kid at the school holding a blue box. The blue box. The same one that Elfangor used to give the Animorphs their powers. Marco starts talking to the kid, whose name is David. Normally, words come easily to me. But I was in brain lock. I kept scanning around the crowded hallway, looking for Jake, or Cassie, someone with some sense. Not Rachel. Rachel's idea of dealing with this kid would probably involve dragging him into the nearest closet, morphing into her grizzly bear morph, and getting that blue box the quick and direct way. Marco asked David where he found the blue box. Apparently, he found it placed in a small hole in one of the unfinished buildings at the construction site. Placed there. Considering the forces David would be making deals with much further down the line, we can make a pretty damn good assumption as to who placed it there, but that's for a review much later down the line. Marco tries to buy the blue box off David, but David just brushes him off. Marco tells the rest of the group, and they have a meeting at Cassie's barn. We learn the official name of the blue box from Axe, the Escafil device. Sounds like a wonder item I'd get off the Home Shopping Network. Billy Mays here for the Escafil device! The point is, this thing, this box, this device, this morphing cube, currently belongs to some kid named David who thinks I'm an idiot. Rachel nodded thoughtfully. Well, if he thinks Marco's an idiot, he can't be all that bad. She batted her eyelashes at me to know she was kidding. I love it when she does that. You know, I'm not a shipper, but even I find myself towing the small but devoted Rachel/Marco bandwagon. They simply have much more chemistry than Rachel and Tobias ever had together. Actually, I think if there hadn't been the whole alien invasion thing, and assuming random people named Ronnie Chambers didn't enter anyone's lives, Rachel and Marco might have been a legit thing. The war, however, led to the need of different kinds of relationships, like the I've got your back relationship Rachel and Tobias have. Anyway, the Animorphs figure out where David lives and sends Tobias to scout the place out, while the rest of them wait at a local Burger King. I want a Burger King kids meal, with extra kids! We waited in the outdoor seating area of a Burger King down the street. It was night, but there was plenty of light. Cars driving by. A weird glow from the used car lot across the street. Finally, with this fission atomizer, I can go back in time and take care of that fucking elephant! While they wait on Tobias, android super spy Eric King approaches with some big news. Oh, nothing much, the android said coyly. Just a summit meeting right here in town. The presidents or prime ministers of Britain, France, Russia, Japan, Germany, and the United States are all coming here to figure out what to do with all the problems in the Middle East. That seems like a totally random selection of countries. Japan? Why Japan over, say, China? Or, I don't know, a Middle Eastern country, perhaps? Does anyone want to actually invite the problem countries in question? Or are we having some kind of global intervention to stop Israel's drinking? What the hell is Japan gonna do? What's that? Israelis and Palestinians are killing each other? Well, damn, we're demilitarized. Let's try throwing video games at them instead. Anyway, with all these world leaders in one place, it would naturally be a major target for the Yeerks. But to make matters worse, Eric has information that one of the world leaders is already a controller, but they have no idea which one it is. Psst, it's Japan. Tobias returns and tells them that David's window's open and the blue box is on his desk. Tobias himself could have taken the thing right then and there, but didn't because of, reasons. So instead of sending Tobias back in with maybe one other Animorph and Owlmorph to post guard, or hide in an alley an Allmorph bird, the Animorphs pick Marco and Rachel to accompany him by purely random chance, have the two boys and two girls both dive into the Burger King's bathrooms, confuse the staff to the point where they burst into the boys' bathroom, so Jake has to pass off a half-morphed Marco as a diseased child. Just another day at the office. Tobias, Marco, and Rachel fly over to David's house. David is in the pool in the backyard, while the blue box rests on the desk. Okay, I'm going in, Rachel said. I don't think so, Tobias said. You're too big in that bulky eagle morph. You can't fly through the window. Me and Marco had better go. Which is why you don't use random chance to decide who goes on missions. In all honesty, the Animorphs in this book, though oddly enough not in the other two books in the trilogy, feel like an older model, like how the Animorphs may have functioned in the first 5 books or so. They make way more dumbass mistakes in this book than they have in a long time, and that really comes to a head when Marco decides to race Tobias to David's open window. This results in Marco hitting the stick holding David's window up, causing Tobias to smack into the window and knock himself silly, which alerts David's cat, who attacks Marco. So Rachel breaks the window, which alerts David, who breaks out a BB gun and starts chasing the birds around the house, and then Yakety Sax starts playing! So So, yeah, they smurfed that up. The next day at school, David approaches Marco and tells him about someone sending trained birds to steal his blue box. Man, the things David Lynch will do to get back his Mulholland Drive props. Realizing this thing has some value, David has decided to sell it online. And while they may not invest in security cameras for their bases, the Yerks are monitoring the internet all the goddamn time. So, red flag, red flag, red flag. Yeah, I posted a for sale notice on a couple of web pages last night after all this went down. I described it, and I described some of those symbols, the one that looked like foreign writing. This morning before school I checked, and there was already an answer. Some guy says he wants to see it. He says he'll pay good money. Says he'll go anywhere, anytime. That did more than give me a chill. That stopped my breathing for about 10 seconds. You did what? I'm thinking I should have some backup, someone to cover me in case anything goes down. You're the only guy I know here. You didn't give this guy your address, did you? David smirked. I'm not a moron. The guy could just rip me off while I'm stuck here at school. He shook his head and gave me a sly leer. I set it up to a timer so the email with my address won't go till right before I get home. What? 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 Why did you set it on a timer? Why? What? Why don't you just send it when you get home? What? Also, you're asking Marco for bodyguard duty? The guy's like 4'7" and 75 pounds. Sure, he has superpowers, but you don't know that. Some mysterious guy from the internet wants a device of a nature that you're unclear of, that you assume is valuable enough to send trained birds after, and your grand plan is to A, use a timer to send an email around the same time you get home, and B, have Mati from Captain Planet as your muscle in case things go bad? This is the guy who will drive the Animorphs to their knees? Marco realizes he has to get to that computer fast, so he ditches the rest of school and flies over to Axe for extra computer hacking support. While flying over to David's house, the two of them run into Tobias. He's offering the box up for sale on the internet. He already has one interested party. There's a timed email we have to stop, but I'm worried he'll have it protected by a password. That's why I brought Axe. If there's a password, why don't you just turn off the computer? I almost splatted into the rooftop from sheer duh. Oh, I guess we could do that, I said, feeling like possibly the biggest idiot in the world. Of course. Duh. Turn off the computer, or at least yank out the phone cord. The internet does not work that way! Oh, okay, maybe if David was using an email client like Outlook or Thunderbird instead of web-based email, but no! He's not! He's using America Online! Turning off the computer, hell, unplugging the modem, should do nothing! Marco, Axe, don't let a kid who spent the last years of his life in the forest try to up you on computer knowledge. He only knows about dinosaurs because his uncle was an alcoholic. So they manage to get to David's house with an hour to spare, but can't find a way in. They decide to morph Cockroach and slip under the back door, but Marco discovers the back door is unlocked and opens it, which sets off the security alarm. Today, Marco will be played by Jerry Lewis. In a panic, Marco and Axe rush over to David's room, knocking all kinds of shit over in their panic. At the same time, David's father pulls up and turns the alarm off. Earlier, David was bragging about his father being a government agent, and it should be noted that he actually is. That'll be important later.